Hello, world. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're having another Google Hangout with Scale Up Milwaukee, ambitious entrepreneurs, and today we actually have a member of our financial ecosystem. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. Why don't we start with Derek?
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity, Elmer. My name is Derek Smith, and I lead a team of 5 relationship bankers at Associated Bank. We pursue the commercial banking segment within our organization. We define that as companies with annual revenues that range from $2 to $30 million.
Excellent. Harry, Harshad, introduce yourselves.
I'm Harshad Shah, President and founder of Eagle Technology. We are a software development company focusing on asset management and facility maintenance software, and we market it worldwide.
And I'm Harry Kohal. I'm Vice President of Business Development and responsible for dealer relationships and client relationships throughout the world.
And I'm going to give both of you, or all 3 of you, a slap on the wrist because you didn't mention one of the most important things that's brought you here today. Derek, you and Associated are proud members of the Scale Up Milwaukee ecosystem. You are actually members of the platform and sponsors for our activities. And Harshad, Harry, you and Eagle Technologies are recent graduates of the Scalerator program.
We are.
Congratulations. So let's jump right into it. We've got a growing business and we've got a banker. What's the thing that you all want to learn from one another in this opportunity?
Yeah, I can start off, Elmer. I think one of the most important things for bankers that when we go out and we're meeting with a company for the first time, I think our goal is to really understand what's important to them, what are their goals, what are their short and their long-term objectives, and I think that's where a lot of our feedback starts. We want to find out what's important, what their growth objectives are, and then it's our role to help align them with the right resources to develop an organizational infrastructure that can foster that sustainable and profitable growth. And, one of the main reasons we've partnered with Scale Up Milwaukee is, you guys are doing just that. So it's a very seamless alignment on our end.
I want to push you a little harder, Derek. What's
Yes.
the thing that you keep hearing from businesses that you'd like them to understand? What's the message you give in every other email and in every other phone call that these growing businesses need to hear?
I think there's a lack of understanding on, I think, sometimes the bank's role and how they come in. I think there's frustration and there's an overall lack of understanding of how the bank supports. I think we could do a better job of indicating how do you scale up. What is the debt capacity? I think there's an assumption that the bank's going to come in. They tell their story, they outline their objectives, what they want to do. We come in, we provide senior financing. I think if we can help them better understand what does this mean to them from a cash flow standpoint, from a capacity standpoint, but initially, I think we need to push them to make sure they're making these expansion decisions for the right reason, that they've analyzed their capacity, they've analyzed the need, there's a long-term game plan, and it's an intentional decision. Is that helpful?
I think that is very helpful, but we're actually going to ask business owners. So, Harry, Harshad, what do you think about what you just heard from Derek?
I believe that is helpful. From the entrepreneur side or the business owner side, we would like to know, get a better understanding of what does the bank need to provide funding to the business. Most businesses do not have a good picture of what exactly is needed, to ask for funds or ask for money. Okay? We develop business plans, we develop growth plans, and we are confident based on our history that we can meet and achieve our growth plans, but it still makes it difficult to get funding from the bank.
Yeah, and I think showing that you have a vision and understanding your goals and objectives, and I think quantified plans are huge. Oftentimes we don't see that. I think a lot of times in banks, this is how they view cash flow and expansion is they're going to look at your historic cash flow which essentially is just kind of a measure of, it's a ratio they typically look at. They'll call it a debt service coverage or a fixed charge coverage, where they look at, a measure of available cash flow over the existing and projected debt requirements. And typically banks will look at, does the historical cash flow support on its own those projected debt service requirements? And if they don't, it's a bit harder. So you may need to bring in some other resources to get a longer amortization to limit the cash flow impact, or you partner with the SBA, MEDC, a lot of other organizations. So I think with every deal, it starts with cash flow. Really digging into what's a normalized actual cash flow. One of the things we do at the bank is we'll really take into account kind of one-time events, unique tax impacts, to truly understand, what's the available cash flow, and then what's the projected debt. Because I think the last thing you want to do as you scale up and look for growth and you expand into new markets is over-leverage yourself, because typically there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be unexpected obstacles that are going to occur, and it's important that there's dry powder there to absorb some of those hits.
Well, when you talk about scaling up, though, you're creating plans that have no history associated with them, and that's where we really need a partner to understand that in order to expand, we need some blind faith on this part of the banker, so to speak.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying total blind faith, but what I am saying is that if we have a solid plan and we can position ourselves to the point that you understand our business and our needs, that we have a partnership with a bank that will allow us to succeed in our plans. We have the customer base and potential that will, so we need that, payroll, the development costs, and things like that.
So I'm going to jump in here if it's okay. So you guys are talking about growth, you're talking about your expansion plans. I want to hear something more specific. What are you doing to grow Eagle Technologies into a larger, more expansive global company?
We have developed, since we've graduated from Scalerator, we have developed new partners in Germany. We've developed new partners in the Middle East that are going to be representing our product. And we've also gotten new partners in China to represent us. We have clients coming in the second week of July, along with dealers from Vancouver, to be trained more effectively in our product. So there are specifics that we are doing. We go to market through a dealer channel, so adding those dealers is absolutely critical and getting them trained. We're also focusing on existing customer. We've added new sales staff that's going to focus on customer relations and building long-term relationships with our clients.
I think that's fantastic. I wonder, if you can communicate something. There's another business out there. It's been around for a similar amount of time, and they're struggling. They're stale. What would you suggest to them? And I mean this to all of you. What would you suggest to them to infuse some new growth energy?
Best thing we can offer is take care of your customers.
Tell me more about that.
Good example is some of the things we learned at the Scalerator classes from the professors about dealing with the customers, focus on sales, human resource, and financing. We are applying some of those techniques, and it's making the difference. But you take care of your customers, make sure they are happy, they are using your products, they are satisfied, and they will give you referrals. That's the best way to build a business. A good example is we just secured an order which about doubles Eagle Technologies' size by taking care of the previous customer.
I love hearing that. So Derek, Associated, you're a banker. Referrals are a huge part of your business. What would you add to that?
I think the key is you have to do what you say you're going to do when you're going to do it. You have to manage, especially this type of environment that we have. If I'm meeting with a relationship and they're not getting the support from the bank that they need and they're looking to make a transition, if I can't help them and make a transition out of the gate, I'm going to try to understand what's the primary issue, what's causing these problems, and maybe impart some wisdom or direction and may be able to help them turn the corner, introduce them to resources that may help them achieve what they need to achieve, whether it's cash flow crunches, operational, vendor relationships, what have you, and then create a roadmap. Try to create simple measurements to help them understand when are you more bankable and what does that look like. And I want to briefly touch on one of Harry's points relative to, sometimes you're looking out and you're looking for growth, and the bank is maybe not taking a flyer on you. I think over the course of time, you build those relationships, you're honest, you're open. If you proactively let them know when you're going to hit a bump in the road, you build those relationships over time. We've supported a lot of companies where we're depending on that pro forma cash flow. So I think it's key. If you're going to hit obstacles, it comes down to communication. And I think there's a true business case for trust. When you trust one another, things flow a lot quicker. And in the banking world.
Derek, I lost you on that last sentence. Say it again.
Oh, I was referring to the business case for trust. I think you have trust and that ongoing dialogue and that proactive dialogue. If there's a hurdle, if there's a business impact, the sooner the bank knows about that, the sooner they can react and respond. And I think that's huge on both sides, banker and company.
So we're going to prepare to wrap this conversation up, and I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to make one ask of either the audience or the others in this conversation. I'm going to give you a second to think about it, and then I'm going to ask Harry to start us off.
Okay. Well, I think the one ask that I would come back with is, we're small and we're growing, and our goal is growth. How do you find the right banker that has the time? We're not a $50 million company or $100 million or $1 billion company. How do you find the right banker that has the time and the understanding of the business we're in that will give us the resources not of their time to help us grow? Because it's a partnership in my book.
Absolutely. And it's my turn, Elmer?
Yes.
So that aligns perfectly with what my ask was going to be. You guys are in a tough position. A lot of banks are trying to move upstream for those big loans, those big relationships. I would ask that you challenge your service providers, your attorneys, your accountants to give you that advice, to be that business partner. We're constantly out in the market. Everybody knows everybody. And at the end of the day, we're selling a commodity, a line of credit's a line of credit, a term loan's a term loan. And the value we provide is only as good as the expertise and experience we bring to the table. So at the end of the day, I challenge the people you surround yourself to be better and to be more of an active partner.
Good. I like it a lot. Harshad, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up and say, I would like to find a banker or a group of bankers who take the time to understand customers' business and be prepared to offer resources, not only banks, because banks are only asset-based lenders, okay? So if they have resources or connections, say, dear customer, these are your needs, I can provide X, but I can introduce to somebody else who can provide Y to complete your equation. And I think that would help the businesses feel a lot more comfortable, allow them to take a lot more ventures, and help them grow.
I'm so glad you said that, Harshad. So my ask is of each of you and everyone out there in the Scale Up Milwaukee audience anyone under the sound of my voice. The ask is that you are focused and ambitious about growth, that you accumulate resources, whether it's partnerships, technical skills, or even just greater ambition to grow. What we heard from Derek is to be demanding of your service providers. Pull them into your organization and ask them for their partnership as you identify opportunities and as you build a strategy towards growth. what we heard from Harshad and Harry is that as an entrepreneur, that's your primary job, is to identify value and extract value from those relationships. Thank you, everyone, for participating today. Thank you for being a part of Scale It Milwaukee. We look forward to seeing you soon. This is going to be on YouTube. We're going to tweet this out. And if you want any more information about Scale It Milwaukee or Associated Bank or Eagle Technologies, I recommend you visit our respective websites. There will be a link in the description. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elmer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.